Mr. Speaker.
Ian Lees-Galloway.
Well, that was a poor effort indeed from Alfred Naro, and I suspect his heart's not in it. I suspect that the member actually sees the merit in this legislation, because I'm frankly surprised that the National Party is voting against this for a couple of reasons. One is it incentivises work. I don't know how many times I heard my opponent across the House say during the election campaign that he believed the way out of poverty and to prosperity was through work. And fair enough, I think we can all agree with that. But the question is, what is the government actually going to do to incentivise work? And this is absolutely a way of encouraging people who are on a benefit to pick up more work. What is unreasonable? I ask the members opposite to explain. What is unreasonable about a person being able to do 1 day's work a week on the minimum wage and still retain their benefit? What is unreasonable about that? I want to hear an explanation from those members, because that is what this legislation will do. And I'm afraid, John O'Naylor, you're wrong. You can't work a full day, even on the minimum wage, and retain your full benefit currently. That's what this legislation would allow for. The other reason I'm really surprised the National Party are not voting in favour of this legislation is because what it does is it reduces high effective marginal tax rates. And I don't know how many times over the years I've heard national MPs rail against policies that create pockets of high effective marginal tax rates. And I would have thought the ACT Party would have been right in behind this bill, because it actually reduces the marginal tax rate for people who are shifting from a benefit into work. Because, of course, what happens when you're in that transition, when you're picking up a few more hours and you're losing your benefit as you pick up work, you're effectively being taxed at an incredibly high rate because you're losing income that you would have otherwise had. And that is a long National Party tradition of railing against such things. And yet here's a bill that would reduce effective marginal tax rates for people on the lowest incomes, and the National Party is going to vote against it. I'm surprised. I really am surprised. Well, maybe I'm not so surprised, because it's fine to rail against high tax rates for people on high incomes, but they won't do anything about high tax rates for people on low incomes. And that, fundamentally, is what the National Party is all about. So, we heard from members opposite about what this government is doing to create jobs and how there are fewer people reliant on a benefit. Well, the fact is that less than half of people on a job seeker's benefit who had their job seeker's benefit cancelled had it cancelled for the reason of obtaining work. Less than half. So actually what the government is doing is pushing people off benefits into poverty and down to the food bank. They're not putting them into work. And this is a bill that would support people to get into work, and they're voting against it. In the last 3 months, the number of people employed has reduced by 11,000. Unemployment has now hit 6% across the country. It's 7% in the Manawatu-Wanganui region, and it's higher in other regions as well. That's what's going on under this government. And here we have a bill that would encourage people to get into work, encourage people to pick up more work, give people the opportunity to work 1 full day a week to demonstrate to an employer that they are sound and reliable and capable of picking up extra work, to put themselves in a position where they could move from part-time to full-time work. All the things I hear the National Party talking about, but when they get the opportunity to vote for something that would actually do it, they're going to vote against it. And that's the truth of the National Party. They're in here to support their rich mates, to support foreign corporations, to support big capital, and when it comes to an opportunity to actually vote for something that would make a tangible difference for the people who are doing everything right and struggling to get ahead and create opportunities for themselves, when they have that opportunity, they vote against it. Ladies and gentlemen, the New Zealand National Party.
I call Todd Muller.
Quite a theatrical flourish.